Awesome. All right. Well, this is Raise the Anchor. They are here. It is our.
So, I'm Melissa, your host, and this is my guest, Dave Reynolds. He is the co founder and CEO of the Rumin8 Group. Before we get into what you do, Dave, tell us about your Dragon's Den visit.
Yeah, it's actually kind of a funny story. This would have been probably back in, I think, 2008. It was the first company that I kind of launched. It was called QuickSnap. And we were actually through the process of getting venture cap. And my mentor at the university I was at the time had said, hey, you know what, you should go try and take a run at the Dragon's Den. And his advice was actually, you'll probably go on and get a no, but you'll make some sales. And at that point, I actually hadn't ever heard of the Dragon's Den and hadn't even watched the show. But one of the partners in the company had wrote the application, and we got accepted right away, so we didn't have to do an audition. So it was fun, but we had prepped for this moment for years. So our pitch was down pat, but the nerves came in once we got into Toronto and we got into the studio at CBC, and it was actually a room inside of a room. So we were actually watching the person go before us, and it was pretty intense, but we went inside with still a bit of a game plan of obviously trying to get the 125,000 and with the expectation that we just might get a no and just get some sales in the process. So I'd say in the first 5 minutes, we got no's from everybody. And then as we talked more about the revenue streams, the business, and where we wanted to bring it, Arlene actually changed her mind and ended up making the investment, and ended up being Brett who shared the investment with her. And it was nice enough to do an order for every trip overseas.
Awesome. So, was that your first time being an entrepreneur, or had you been doing entrepreneur things before that?
I've kind of always been an on and off entrepreneur all my life. Even all through university, I owned a landscaping company. So we got bigger and bigger as we went through university, and that kind of paid my way through university. And actually transitioning out of that, I went right into the other company. So yeah, I'd say on and off entrepreneur, serial entrepreneur all my life.
Okay, so as you know, the premise of our podcast is a life-changing decision. What was your life-changing decision that led you to where you're at now?
Wow, really good question. I would say the reason why I jumped into restarting QuickSnap, where we went under the Dragon's Den, was my son was just born, and I knew I just wanted to do something really special. And so at the time, I was doing a sales job for a local company, and I just decided to dive right in. So we went out and got funding. That was a game changer for us. A lot of risk involved, but obviously it paid off. And then most recently, I would say even earlier this year, I gave up a job that I'd been doing for almost 10 years and it did really well and paid an incredible amount of money. But I just had this draw to become more deeply immersed into the consultant side of the business, and actually left on probably one of the best years we've ever had and transitioned over doing our company full time.
And now you're super busy all the time, very successful, helping other businesses thrive, especially in a time of the uncertainty, as I know a lot of our listeners right now are in the US, we're in Canada. So yeah, a lot of businesses are struggling throughout the whole world, let alone in our little Nova Scotia province that's been cut off from everywhere else. What do you pertain that success to?
I appreciate that. And I would say, honestly, the biggest success we've had this year was just trying to understand that each business is unique. Each business is trying to navigate this change differently. So we always made sure it was the right fit for us, and it was also the right fit for the organizations we were working with. So we spent a lot of time asking the right questions to help them navigate each change, and we weren't trying to overwhelm them. We just took it one step at a time with each company, and every step we went up, we seemed to get more momentum and more momentum. So we've had some great success working with some organizations this year, and it just seems like everybody keeps reaching out, and we're just excited to work with everybody and help navigate them through this. It's a bit of a different world right now, but there's a big group of people that are really thriving right now, and we're excited to be working with them.
Well, you do such a great job, and for anybody who doesn't have Dave on their LinkedIn, you should go over there. He does such a beautiful job of writing that it makes you just want to listen to his tips. He also gives great videos. And tell our listeners how you learned how to speak so well. Who were you trained by?
Well, there's actually two parts to that. I would probably say a couple of years ago, I did the John Maxwell certification. and they have a whole speakers lane within that. And it was such an exciting opportunity to go down and actually learn the mechanics of speaking, where usually it was just me talking too much. And then I realized there's an actual structure and a way of, navigating a 5-minute, 10-minute, half-day, full-day presentation. That was huge, but, to be honest, where I learned probably some of the best communication skills outside of just being in sales was when I graduated university. I actually took about a 6-month, 8-month term living in the United States. I was in West Des Moines, and then I was in Waukesha, Wisconsin. I was actually knocking doors, and everybody always kind of rolls their eyes and goes, oh. But I can tell you from Brian Tracy's, who's a famous author, his advice was go knock doors for a year if you want to get like 5 or 10 years of sales experience all wrapped into 1 year. And I thought that was such an amazing experience because you've got to knock 200-300 doors in a day, and all you're getting is no's and objections. So it gets you really confident in owning your message.
No, that's good. Any advice to anybody wanting to get into being an entrepreneur on their own?
Yeah, you know what? Honestly, probably one of the best experiences you could ever do, especially if you're younger, you're older, you're any age. You get the chance to wear a lot of different hats. You get the chance to make a lot of different mistakes. And I always say that those mistakes are what carves you into who you are today. And I always use the old Chinese proverb is that to know the road ahead, ask those coming back. Find an entrepreneur that you admire, reach out to them. And during this pandemic, I've reached out to many people and asked for support, asked for help, asked for tips. And I think we always assume sometimes that people are protective of the time. I think if you're honest and you're straightforward and you're looking for time or looking for advice, people are there to give it. But, the world's your oyster. Really just try and find something you're passionate about, something that you're good at, and something you can make money at. And if you can fill those 3 circles, you can build a business in any industry.
Well, we got a good question from somebody in the audience. Robert asked if you had any adversity to your entrepreneurship.
Adversity? Mm-hmm. Oh my gosh. There's adversity all the time. I think one of the biggest challenges that a lot of people find as they're navigating the entrepreneurial world is trying to get consistency in your revenue streams. So you'll find that a lot of businesses will kind of go up and down. So it's really just making sure that you've got structure in how you operate. And one question we always work with clients on is how much of your week are you running your business versus growing your business? And you have to have a real cadence and a real structure for both of those areas. And that's actually one thing we work with clients on, but we have to embrace ourselves is being intentional on growing your business and operating at the same time. And that's really what draws out consistency. But for sure, we had times where we were saying, oh my gosh, like our funnel's getting pretty low. And we had to lean in and drive a lot of business development to fill it back up. But it taught us the lesson to be consistent in business development.
No, so true. I actually, my business partner and I, Michelle, often work in the business and not on the business. So we're always going. And we forget that we have to work on the business or else the business is just going to be us as technicians. One of my favorite books, I can't even remember it right now, but there's like the mechanic, the technician, and the manager. And then the entrepreneur is the one who has the big wild dreams. So you need a little bit of all of that. What role do you have in your company?
Yeah, you know what? I feel like I wear a lot of the hats a lot of the time where I do a lot of the business development. I do a lot of the business execution and a lot of the marketing. I've got some really good partnerships for marketing and other social media platforms like, your company. We always look for advice and some strategies. One thing that I've always looked at is that everybody thinks that when you own a company, you need to hire a team. I've always tried to build my business up and just making strong partnerships like with you and Michelle and other people at UX designers, SEO, somebody on, sales development side, even doing what I do, but I don't need to hire them, but I can work a project in with them. And I feel like those are really strong relationships. There's a lot of people out there that they just need to do one project with somebody. And it just really transforms their thought of being able to do it. So I'm trying to give a lot of people those opportunities to do projects together. And just recently, we've got a plastics development project they're working on, and an engineer that's dying to get into entrepreneurship. I said, hey, come do this one with me. We'll split the project, and this will just give you an idea of what it's like.
So let our listeners know exactly what your company does for a small business from the beginning to the end.
Yeah, first I'd tell you a little bit about our customers. So we're in a lot of different industries. So we work with a lot of law firms, people in ocean tech startups, food industry, pharmacology. We're in a lot of different industries. That's why we always refer to ourselves as a growth consulting firm. So we work with small businesses looking to commercialize, enter a market, but we also work with businesses that are in a market that want to expand and get that hockey stick growth that they're looking for. And then the third tier is we get companies that have been in the market for 50, 60, 70 years and want to challenge the status quo. So we come in and do, workshops, we do development, we do strategic planning. But our main service offering is we do customized learning and development programs where we either take the current plan they have and do a little bit of re-engineering and then work on a better implementation design. Or if they don't have one, which is the exciting part, we get to customize and develop it with a leadership team, keeping all their core values in mind. And me being from a business development and sales background, some of our secret sauce is business development strategies, sales strategies, and working with the teams to really empower them on really how to own that next level of growth. And we work with a lot of companies on succession planning. So those are the exciting parts, is it all comes back to growth. And a lot of companies, they know where they want to go. Sometimes they just need the support to get there. So our tagline is always taking companies from where they are to where they want to go and building the steps in between.
And what is the hardest part you find getting those businesses who are struggling on board? Like, is there like that, oh my God, I don't know if I can do this, or I don't think I have the time to do this, but I think I need you, or are you sure you can actually help me kind of things?
Yeah, you know what? And I never make it a pressure situation. I'd say our first meeting is always me just asking a ton of questions just to find out where, you and the business are today. I'd say some people, depending on what size of the business is, will look at it as, is this going to be a major expense or is this going to be an investment? And so we have to get that paradigm together that this is going to be an investment. And I'll always say to our clients that if anything, this is going to be one of the harder things you've done. It's going to take time. So I'll never oversell it, but, our performance, has been really incredible this year. And we really stick behind that. So we'll use a lot of references and people that we've worked with as a validation model. But I would say the hardest part is really getting people to think bigger and getting them to understand that they might have all the tools and all the things that we need. They just need somebody just to line them up and prioritize them and start saying 1, 2, 3, 4 with those planning steps and getting somebody committed to making that next stage. So sometimes we work with people on smaller engagements to really, at the end of the day, get to a bigger engagement, just to kind of prove and validate what we do.
So when you start with a client, do you stay with them after you've given them tools and follow up with them, or do you give them the tools and leave them alone?
Great question. Okay, so this is something we're super passionate about. Is there's a lot of agencies out there that are really good at building, and they do that build, and then they hand it off to the end user, and then they walk away. We typically won't do the build unless we can work on the implementation, and we're very passionate about it because we want to make sure that what we build gets implemented. Their success is our success, so we're very, very excited about making sure that what we say we've designed is going to be successful. So we'll work with the teams on an implementation strategy. In reality, we'll probably stick around for a little while, but over time, we want to make sure that they're empowered, they have the autonomy, and they know what to do, and they just, they're excited about what we've built. And we'll be pretty upfront about, owning that implementation strategy together. But we look at everything as a partnership versus, I'm the consultant and they're the business. By the end of it, we should feel like partners.
Yeah, no, that's why I wanted to ask that question, because I know we have the same thoughts on that. And I kind of dread when coaches just give you the tools and then walk away, and everybody learns at a different pace. So you never know if they actually take what you taught them properly. So it's always nice to go back in and tweak and check and see, like maybe you're delivering it the wrong way or anything like that. Another question is, who motivates you to get up and do all of this? Because you are super busy. You're a hard guy to get a hold of some days.
Well, definitely number one motivation would be, my family, for sure. I've got 2 boys and an amazing wife. There's a lot of great entrepreneurs that are out there that are doing great things that I think are motivation for me. But I know it'll probably sound kind of cheesy, but you know what motivates me, honestly, is the success that we're just having with clients. And we've had a bunch of clients recently that have broken into new markets, launched new businesses that have been doing it for years, 3-4 years, and have never commercialized. And within months, we were already getting them into early adopters program. And for me, those are moments that, you know, I wake up every day just wanting to kind of keep striking that match for new clients. And yeah, we just get really excited about that. So if there's a new idea or we've got somebody that we're looking to develop and empower and get to the next level, we love driving measurement, and those things really motivate me. I always look at, you know, there's always a scoreboard there. So I always try and fight to kind of keep those numbers going up. And that's usually a partnership between clients and us.
So what's the biggest success you've had since the Rumin8 group has launched?
Well, you know what? I would say the biggest success is really getting out and giving up that full-time job to go out and doing this full-time. That was a tough decision. And, you know, I was almost making $200,000 a year working for a sales organization. You know, most people don't give those roles up. Go out and say, okay, maybe I have one customer. And it's nowhere near it. I think it's just staying consistent, staying disciplined. And now we've got 3 or 4 organizations that we're doing customized learning and development programs for. We've got a great roster of amazing entrepreneurs and CEOs that we're working with one-on-one to develop their business and their teams. And now the succession plans we're working with the banking client, it's just so exciting to see a full calendar, diverse industries, and knowing that almost all of our 2021 we're about like 50% full. So we're getting there, and we're just so excited to do some expanding in 2021. So we're definitely going to be expanding the team. And so I don't know if that completely answers your question, but we're just so excited to be blazing a trail. I think every day seems to be a new opportunity. But the cool part is, like, we just keep trying to create new opportunities. And we work with a lot of amazing clients, and we just want to keep finding more.
Yeah, no, it's definitely, and you're very inspiring. Like I said, if you don't have him on LinkedIn, you should go and watch some of his videos, because you just inspire people to want to get into their business a little further. But what really inspires you to want to do that every day? I know what motivates you, but what inspires you to want to do that every day?
Yeah, you know what? I guess I'm the believer of, like, that old saying, like, what inspires me is anything can happen. You know, and we really kind of saw that. I think when I was in my early 20s and we were on a TV show and we're walking out with 125,000, it made me think bigger of what's possible. So I think that's what inspires me, is that, you know, this is really our first full year of driving a business, not even a full year. And we've already surpassed every goal that we set. And so we just want to keep setting things higher. And I think I've shared that quote with you many times. I'm big on good, better, best. Never let it rest until your good is better and your better is best. We just want to keep raising the roof. We just want to be the most well-known name in Eastern Canada, or eventually North America, for growth consulting. So that's really what inspires us is what's to come. And we're just kind of painting the way.
So we have another question from the guests. They want to know if you have any mental or spiritual practices to help businesses.
Wow, that's a really good one. So I'll pick a book that I took that was a game changer in the way that I organize my day, both mentally and spiritually. So I was a big Robin Sharma fan. I think the first book I read of his was The Leader Who Had No Title. And then a friend of mine, actually from the John Maxwell team, actually recommended the 5 a.m. Club. So anybody that hasn't had that, unreal book. What it does is it actually builds into a little bit of working out in the morning, but also kind of mental realignment, and then a kind of a piece where you have compounding in on areas that you want to develop in your business. But that middle section became where I get into meditation. And sometimes you can get up and have a lot of things you need to do for the day. And taking that 10, 15 minutes to kind of meditate in the morning and just kind of recalibrate your breathing, I found made me approach the day so much more proactively, where I've got 2 boys. Things can feel reactive sometimes when people are getting up in the morning. I actually ended up getting up an hour earlier than I typically did, and I did it every day of the week, just to kind of work on the things that I knew were going to grow my business. And when I thought about it, because I was thinking the compounding effect, when I added up that 1 hour per day, all the days through the year that I've done, and I've been doing it for over 2 years, that gave me an extra 15.3 days, full days of growth throughout the year. So I think those are the things for me that I have clarity on where I want to go. I hope that answers your question.
I think it does. I agree with that book. It's an amazing book. When I first read it, I was like 5 a.m. Yeah, there's no way. Now I get up at 5 a.m. every day from 5 till 8:30 before I go to the office. It's when I'm the most productive from the whole day. So what practice do you do to plan for your week ahead? Because you have such a busy schedule and you have things thrown at you all the time. How do you prepare for your week ahead?
Yeah, great question. This is something I picked up a while ago. Kind of had to live and die by my calendar. And I always get that 5P rule of prior planning prevents poor performance. So I'm always a week to 2 weeks out on my planning. And going back to, I'm coloring my calendar. I'm looking at what's a professional development piece, what's a personal development piece, when is family time, and I put in like what are the growth functions, like what percentage is going through. Like I'm very protective of my calendar now on when I can kind of give up some certain time, but I would still say 25% of my week is still going out and just connecting with great people, and those are like non-billable activities. But I'm just like the part of that would probably go back to the inspiration part. Like I'm just inspired by, going out and helping some people out and answering some questions or just jumping on a call and going through things. And I've always been a big believer of giving back. So that's probably my balance is trying to give back, grow, but also be intentional where I put my time.
So one common misconception of becoming an entrepreneur is that you're flexible to do all of your hours all the time. But when you're building a business, it's kind of untrue. Do you find that you can actually create your own schedule around everything? Or do you find you're working from 5 a.m. till 10, 11 p.m., 6-7 days a week?
No, and that was part of the intention of me going out on my own is when I was in that space working before, I worked almost 7 days a week, and I didn't want to do that anymore. But to your point, it can be easy to say yes to everything and fill up your calendar with just a ton of activities. And I just wrote an article recently that was really titled "Get Good at Saying No," because there's a lot of good things to go do, but the great stuff is really what is a game changer. So I always used to stick to the Steve Jobs quote is he used to say, we're as proud of the things we didn't do to the things we did do. And that really resonated with me. So I've been a big, time advocate of going, is this a great activity? Is this something that really is a game changer? And, you have to really think about that as you go through, because I could say yes to a lot of things and I could fill up my calendar. So I'm a little bit more protective of saying yes all the time.
So do you find that can hinder you sometimes? Because I know a lot of people in the beginning will say yes to anything because that's guaranteed money coming through the door. But I find myself to try and choose and align the clients that I work with so that I know that it's going to be a well-oiled kind of relationship where we gel together. I know that what they're expecting of me, they know what to expect from me. Is that kind of what you're saying?
Yeah, and you know what, you probably said it better, is I probably give the clients better value when I'm well rested and I'm a little bit more protective of my time and I'm not trying to max out every single day. Because they'll definitely get burnt out if I have those weeks where I'm 6 days a week, 8, 10, 12 hours a day. Because there's a lot of research and a lot of note taking. There's a lot of design that goes into what we do. And we want to make it special for everybody. That's a lot of the feedback we get saying this is such a unique experience. And we don't want that to change. I feel like if we dilute ourselves too much, that'll change. I think that's something that's we really pride.
So what's your favorite part of what you do for a small company? I know my favorite part is watching a business that's barely holding it together thrive from our company and how we coach them. What is your favorite part, and what is the thing you're like, oh my God, thank you?
Wow, that's such a good question. I would say changing what's possible. I think that everybody at some point has a limiting belief. I believe our job is to come in and change that. We do a very much like start with the thought process, work on the behaviors, identify the results. We spend so much time trying to recalibrate how they think so they can think bigger, so they can do things bigger and get bigger results. I think that's the biggest thing is really kind of seeing them see their business grow at a velocity that they never even believed was going to be possible within the time that we were together. So I think that's probably where we're at, is really making sure that we're really in tune with that.
I love that you mentioned limiting beliefs, because that is something that is hard for people to understand, that can really hold you back. What is the most common one you see?
There's a lot of that doesn't work. And it's usually from a statement of that doesn't work because I tried it once. I'm big on the compounding effect of getting something right. So we might work on a client with something that, we do and it doesn't seem to work, but we try it again and we try it again and we try it again. It's about proving us wrong. The other thing too is we kind of have to ask why enough for them to say, I don't know, like there is no reason why we can't do that. And you have to kind of get them to think bigger about what they're going to do. But I would say definitely the fear zone is their limits, is really, oh, geez, I don't like getting on calls, or I don't like doing video, or I can't have that conversation with my team, or can I hire 2 more people? And I think those are the things like that become limiting. But if we lay all limiting beliefs out, they get paralyzed. We start with one limiting belief, we erase it. We start with the next limiting belief, and then we erase it. And then eventually they just become like, sky's the limit. And it's really exciting to see that.
Yeah, I agree with that method, one at a time. It's kind of like when you're teaching your child, you have to teach them one little step at a time, make sure that they're comfortable with that, and then let it go. And I honestly think that my clients are kind of like my little children as they go along. Because I follow them. As you've witnessed, I will follow you all the way through to make sure that everything is working out. So we have a couple more minutes. Do you have any last words?
Yeah, I'll just echo the point you just made, is that I'll always say, especially entrepreneurs or larger businesses that we're working with, there's a lot of cases where they're coming in and they want to get somewhere very quickly. And I would call that's the run. Our job is actually to get them to focus on crawl, walk, run. So we'll really get them to perfect things at a foundational level before we get to the crawling, to the walk, to the running. So that can be a really challenging step, but when they get why we got to crawl, walk, run, versus trying to get people to run right off the bat, it's a game changer. And it gets back to our philosophy of, let's keep it simple and let's do it one step at a time.
Yeah, I couldn't agree with that anymore, because if you grow too fast, you're actually going to create more problems for yourself if you don't have that solid foundation. And far too often I see entrepreneurs just grow, take everything on, and then all of a sudden they crumble because there's no foundation there. It's like making the Eiffel Tower upside down. Put it upside down. How's it going to stand?
Yeah, it's so true. Actually, I'm going to use that one. I'm going to write that one down. The only other thing too is I would say anybody that wants to get into consulting and they want to get into like different set of problem solving business, is there's a lot of really smart people out there that will generally see a business and they'll see some challenges or an opportunity and they'll try and provide them a solution. A lot of our clients, and I know we've had this over at coffee, is I could go into a session and know what the problem is in the first 5 minutes and be able to say, this is what you need to do. We spend 55 minutes asking questions for them to make that realization of what they need to do, because the ownership needs to be with the client. And when the ownership becomes with the client, they make these realizations that they've never done before. We get them to commit to say, what are we going to do now? How do we stay committed? How do we stay focused? And accountability and wrapping that together is a big part of our process and our philosophy. And it's a game changer between you and the client, because each week they're excited to hear, oh my gosh, what are the questions going to be this week? And it just keeps you on your toes, keeps you kind of realizing all these new things that you can do. And it just gives you a new focus on where growth can be.
All right. So where can our listeners find out more about you?
Yeah, so you could reach us at rumin8group.com. So that's RUMIN number 8 group.com. You can definitely reach out to me at Dave at rumin8.com. And you check us out on LinkedIn. We're super active on LinkedIn. So it'd be Dave Reynolds. And you can check out our business page there as well. Give us a like and a comment and a follow. And we're going to be working with you to help pump up some of those Instagram and Facebook side. But check us out on LinkedIn. We love to stay engaged, love to stay active, and we love comments. So send us some questions.
Yeah, well, I want to thank you for coming on the show today. And last minute for all our people, I literally asked him this morning to be my guest because our guest backed out.
It was my pleasure. No, I love the questions. They're amazing.
Yeah, no, thank you.